What about it, SEC fans? The hardest three-game stretches in FBS this year. Congratulations, Arkansas. You and Missouri are the winners. Auburn, A&M, and Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Alabama. Tennessee doesn't exactly have a walk in the park, nor does LSU. You're in the SEC. Why do you expect to have an easy time?
All right, Paul, how do you justify this to a fan of Arkansas or Tennessee and say, okay, what can we do to make this exciting and get you out to the games? What do you say to them?
I think that is a great challenge, because one thing that you hate to lose is momentum early in the year, and especially at Arkansas, I don't know where you go. I mean, you have to have done a good job in the offseason, that fans believe in you. If they don't, it's hard to turn it around. I mean,
you have to promote the high quality football in the SEC. That's the only thing you can do. And with schedules like that, you're going to see a great team week in and week out, and sometimes in a 3 to 4 game week stretch. But that's pretty much the only thing you can do at this point.
You and your crew will be in Auburn. Auburn coming off a tough loss. They're taking on Arkansas, and I'll let you explain, but it's Arkansas fans are despondent, understandably so. This is a pretty bad spot for them.
It's a process. It really is. Anytime you have a new head coach, it's a process, but especially when you have a new coach that has that type of offense. I mean, This offense is completely centered around a quarterback that can process quickly, that can be mobile enough to make plays, that can have a suddenness that they play with, get the ball out extremely fast. Right now, Cole Kelly, that's not his game, right? He's not a spit the ball out really quick, make quick decisions. Nothing against him. He's a strong arm guy. He's great in the pocket, stands good in the pocket, delivers the ball downfield. And Ty Story's still learning. There's a lot of decision making that is going awry on that offense right now. It's a process. It's not going to happen this week against Auburn. As much as I still have some concerns about Auburn, I think Auburn takes this one handily.
What are your concerns about Auburn?
When I look at the offensive side of the ball, I've said this since week one. I don't think they can run the ball effectively. Whitlow did some good things. I think 104 yards against LSU, and that's great. But 104 yards for an Auburn team is not good enough to win a ball game. Now, Jarrett Stidham's extremely talented, but here's my issue. When I flip on the tape, I see a lot of two-man route combinations. I see Stidham throwing a lot of really tough back shoulder balls for completions, tough play action balls for completions. I don't see an offense that looks sustainable. Now, at times, they'll be explosive. At times, Jarrett Stidham, because he's so talented, is going to make some plays. But this offense, I don't think, is cohesive enough to have a passing attack be consistent by design. I think if I were Auburn right now, and you're struggling running the ball between the tackles, and your offensive passing game is maybe not where you want it, use Jarrett Stidham for what he is. He's extremely accurate, extremely talented at getting the ball out quick. And your running game, what I see them trying to do is add a fullback or add a tight end, which only adds more guys into the box. So if it's me, and I'm designing this game plan for Auburn going forward, more 4 wide receivers, make the defense decide, is it going to be a 5-man box? Is it going to be a 6-man box? Let Jarrett Stidham walk to the line of scrimmage and say, hey, we got the numbers to run. Let's run it. Right? Against a 5-man box, you're going to have more success with Whitlow knocking off big runs. And if they stack an extra guy, spit it to the outside to your playmakers, and let's go. I want to see more tempo. I want to see more spread out of Auburn. And to me, that's the way you fix things.
Coming off a tough loss Saturday, I know our coaches and our players, we put it behind us. We're moving forward and getting ready for the Arkansas Razorbacks. You know, you look at Arkansas, first of all, their head coach, Chad Morris, he's a good friend of mine, but he's an excellent football coach. He's got a staff that is very talented, got some veteran guys, been in this league a long time. We got quite a few starters back on offense. They got quite a few starters back on defense. We expect them to improve. I think back in 2013 when I first took over here, it took 3 or 4 games to kind of really get in a rhythm. So we expect to get their best. We're focused on getting better. Obviously, Saturday we didn't play our best, and that's my responsibility, and we will improve throughout the season. I think we only had one play over 30 yards. The other day I think we had one that was 28, one was 20-something. But when we're at our best, we have more explosive plays, and that's something that we'll be working hard to do. And like I said, that, and then being able to run the football effectively, which, like I've said earlier, I really feel strong that you'll see this team grow in the running game. I think, you just said it, one game at a time. I think because of everything you just said, with the schedule, the road games, you for sure have to take it one game at a time and to cross that bridge when that next thing is. So, we got Arkansas. We got Arkansas that their backs are against the wall. Like I said, they're a team with a new staff, and they're going to improve each week. There's no doubt we're going to get their best. We got to worry about them, and that's all we're worried about. And then after that, we'll worry about the next one. And at the first of the season, from a head coach's standpoint, you get up in front of your team and you give them the plan for the whole year. And you got to be aware of what you're going to go through. And like I said before, at least we went through it last year and we know what it feels like, know what it looks like. But then you got to flip the switch. And you just got to take it one game at a time. You got to have tunnel vision. You can't worry about last week. You can't worry about the next week. You can't worry about how good this team's playing or that team. You better worry about that. And so that's the simple answer to it. And that is easier said than done. A lot of teams can't do that. But that's our challenge, and that's what we're going to do. You never know how things go. All you can do is control what you control. And so, one game at a time. And, my experience is the teams that are playing their best ball the second half of the season, that's the teams that have a chance. And, we've kind of been set up that way, and I think we can do that again. But we got to take it one game at a time.
Though, for the Auburn Tigers, it was a close loss last year for the Tigers against LSU, but they bounced back and almost made the college football playoff. What's left in store for the Auburn Tigers?
I think there's still a lot of questions to be answered with Auburn as well. I don't think they can run the football like the Auburn teams that we've seen in the past. Just 147 rushing yards versus Washington, 130 versus LSU. Last year, that didn't happen. Their lowest Power 5 victory last year was 168 yards against Alabama. When you run for that, that's more like 300 against Alabama. They need to figure things out. To me, they need to spread it out, get less guys in the box, and allow Stidham to have some autonomy at the line of scrimmage and get them in the right run or pass. A lot of things still to work out.
And on the defensive side of the ball, too, that front seven that we thought was going to be so just demanding and just being so taking over a ball game, we didn't see that last game. And that front seven, Big Cat, they have to show up. Derek Brown, those guys have to be more of a problem up front. They got to push that line of scrimmage. They got to play on the other side, use that penetration. They did not do that in that last ball game, and that's something you still got to kind of worry about, that they didn't show up and kind of take over the ball game.
To a certain extent, they do get a little bit of a reprieve because they get Arkansas, who still is trying to find their way right now in Chad Morris's first year. Remember last year, Jarrett Stidham said the loss to LSU is what catapulted them the rest of the year. All right, the game that you're going to be at coming up and on Saturday night is our What to Watch For, brought to you by Jimmy John's, and it's going to be Arkansas and Auburn. What are you looking for in that one?
I want to see this offense. I want to see if they're doing anything different to try to run the football more effectively. I got to see some changes on the offensive side of the ball. Like we saw last year, a Clemson game kind of stunned them. They changed things up. Maybe that LSU game and that loss will spark the same offensive change.
Yeah, Paul, we're hanging out on the plains. We're listening to all these Bama fans complain about their game switching to ESPN News on Saturday night when they were winning by about 55 points.
Just so happy that now everybody else can see what we have to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, problem is, it would have been nice if CBS cut off the end of our game on Saturday against LSU.
It's all right. You know what? Chances are we weren't going to go undefeated anyway. Still play Georgia, still can beat them. Still play Alabama, still can beat them. And this week we just basically have a glorified scrimmage.
We got a pig roast on the plains on Saturday night.
Right. This is the game where I'm kind of excited to see all our backups come in. And see how we do. Because now we're going to get to watch the whole team, all 60 minutes of it, watch them develop, and kind of excited about it.
The game's on SEC Network. The question is, when we're up 55 to 7 early in the fourth quarter, will that game switch over to the alternate channel?
No. It's going to stay on.
Okay,
they know where their bread's buttered. Here's where it's so bad for Arkansas fans right now. Here's what they're clinging to. Look at this full screen here. All right, we have Arkansas at 1-2. And waiting for a full screen. There it is. The last Arkansas coach to lose 3 of the last 4 was Frank Broyles. I mean, that's what they're clinging to up in Fayetteville, all right? So I'm pretty confident we're going to be
So they've
all
got
right.
that going for them, Arkansas
Pretty
does.
confident.
Future of the program's looking fantastic. Chad Morris, he's exactly who Frank Broyles was back in 1958.
All right, Paul, so bring us down to earth. All right,
I
we
think
lost a
you're-
game.
Listen, Auburn has made a living of destroying Arkansas the last couple of years.
We're not worried about beating Arkansas. We're going to beat Arkansas. We're just saying how much are we going to get back in, and from what you've seen so far.
I mean, listen, your season is going to be decided on road games to Mississippi State, Georgia, and Alabama. That's no good way to make a living.
Yeah, you know, thinking about those 3 games, it'd be nice to win 2 of them.
There's 2 of them.
Yeah. Alabama and Mississippi State.
Try one of them, okay?
Well, you know, at that point, if you only win one of them, Paul, you're looking at 3 losses.
Yeah.
9-3.
Okay, that's the idea.
Yeah, 9-3 is not good enough for us.
We'll be Mississippi State. I mean, because honestly, what's Mississippi State ever won?
Right.
All right. Not worried about them. Georgia, it's a revenge game, and well, we prove we can beat Bama like we did last year.
2 in a row. Bama's not even state champs, Paul.
Yeah, I want to start with asking you about another player defection at Auburn. We just talked about it, and the second this week. I think it's quite a few. I think 5 or 6 overall since camp started. Not to hit the panic button on a program that last year played for the SEC and nearly had a good shot until Kerryon Johnson went down and maybe making the playoffs. Any idea what's going on down there?
Well, first of all, you're going to be seeing more of these defections.
Sure.
Probably in the next 24 to 48 hours, because the magic number 4 in terms of the redshirt rule is coming up this week. So you're going to see more and more, particularly if a guy knows he's going to graduate, he'll play the first 3-4 games, see if he likes the landscape. If he doesn't, then he's going to bolt. So that is certainly a factor. Is it too early to hit the panic button? Yeah, it is at Auburn. But, you know, that's a game they certainly could have won, should have won, and give LSU credit. But the thing about Auburn is that the road to redemption, the one they marched last year, is a lot tougher this year because of the schedule.
We haven't talked much about Arkansas this week, and I think it's fair to say that Chad Morris did not inherit a great situation, especially trying to put his imprint and his philosophy. But in your many, many years of watching SEC ball, I mean, how embarrassing and how much of a low moment was that, just getting run out of your own place against North Texas?
And going through 3 or 4 quarterbacks. But listen, we knew that Chad Morris was going to come in, and he simply did not have the talent to run the kind of offensive system he wanted to run. But, you know, Arkansas and their fans, because I talked to some of them, they were counting on that non-conference schedule to get them a leg up, and maybe they could get to 6-6 with that non-conference schedule. Well, guess what? They beat Eastern Illinois, and then they've gotten embarrassed 2 times after that. They simply don't have the talent, and this is a problem that's only going to get fixed with recruiting, because he's trying to put in an offensive system that Brett Bielema didn't recruit to. It's going to be a long. Look, in March, after my tour, Paul, I had him going 0-8 in the SEC, and I got beat up on social media. But to me, that's what it looks like.
There ought to be a law against attacking Tony Barnhart on social media.
Bless your heart.
We're happy to go down to Auburn, Alabama right now and bring in Cole Kublik. Auburn hosting Arkansas tomorrow night. Cole, thanks for the time. Certainly a challenge to try to dig or delve deep into this one. What's going on with Arkansas?
Well, I think consistency is the big point of concern for me, Paul. You look at the amount of quarterbacks that played the last few games. You look last week playing 4 different quarterbacks. I want to see consistency. And at the running back position as well, spreading those carries around. I want to see Arkansas be able to have a tailback that they can rely upon for 4 quarters. Obviously going to need a spell every now and then. And then a quarterback who can help gain some of that confidence with the rest of their offense. It's no different than offensive linemen who need to understand what it's like playing next to each other. It's no different than wide receivers being on the same page with their quarterback. So I think when you look at what I want to see from the Arkansas offense, it's consistency. And having the same quarterback in for an extended amount of time is a big reason why you can see that.
So when you go on the road and lose a game against an average team, not a good team, but an average team, and then you lose to a team you're supposed to beat pretty badly at home, I mean, you get crushed. How do you bounce back from that, especially when you have to go to Auburn, which is coming off of a gut-wrenching last-second loss. Now back, Cole, I was asking you about the challenge of going to play the challenge of Arkansas, which just couldn't have looked any worse. Now taking on Auburn in Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Well, I think first and foremost, Paul, you have an Auburn football team that you're going to find out what their makeup is. You're going to find out the personality of this football team. Do they come out tomorrow night and make a statement and say, yes, we slipped up against LSU, but there are gigantic opportunities ahead of us for the rest of the season. They're still a top 10 football team, and a lot of people seem to just have thrown in the towel on the rest of this Auburn season. So I think come out, you got a team that's going to have some mat on, a veteran defense, a lot of experience, a very mature defense, going up against an offense that's had to shuffle some offensive linemen, an offense that's played multiple quarterbacks, rotating tailbacks, does not have a lot of continuity. So I think for Arkansas, again, consistency, an understanding of what you can accomplish in a short period of time, try to loosen up that Auburn defense a little bit, and then maybe take some of the game plan that LSU put in place against Auburn's offense last week. They did not overcommit to the line of scrimmage. Paul, LSU rushed more than 4 players one time against this Auburn offense last week. Now, they blitzed and they mixed and matched and ran some games, but more than 4 rushers only once against the Auburn offense. Maybe John Chavis looks at that as a chance to back off a little bit, try to confuse Jarrett Stidham through coverage and different looks as opposed to just overcommitting to the line of scrimmage, because the Auburn run game hasn't gotten going yet the way we've seen it the last few seasons. That could be a way that I think on both sides of the ball, Arkansas can find some success.
Okay, Cole, I want to go off the field for a second, because not only do you know this Auburn program, you played there, you live in Alabama, you do a talk show in Birmingham, so you hear from Auburn callers, and the ones I've heard from this week, I wouldn't say they've thrown in the towel like you said a minute ago, but they're not far from it. They are really down on Gus Malzahn and this program. Explain that to lay people who still look at Auburn, as you said, as a top 10 team.
First off, they are ranked in the top 10, and look at the opportunities that lie ahead.
No. Hey, Cole, I get all that. I want to know, why are they so down on Gus Malzahn?
Because 2 consecutive seasons, LSU has had double-digit deficits and been able to come back and win this football team. You had the hottest team in the country at the end of last season that goes and essentially gets thrashed against Georgia in the SEC championship game, a team that you defeated on this field just 3 weeks before that, and then doesn't look good against Central Florida in the bowl game. So I think there's a bad taste of what has happened most recently. Even the win against Washington didn't look impressive to a lot of Auburn fans. They want to see this team get over the hump. They want to see it get over the hurdle. And let's just be honest, Paul, it's very difficult when comparatively you're looking at the team across the state that looks to be absolutely dominant and has been for some time. And they're getting better this year. And a lot of Auburn fans look at this team and say, how are they getting better? How are they better than they were a year ago? How are they better than they were week 1? And I think it's difficult to see when you have a team that's making mistakes and has a lead in the fourth quarter at home with an elite defense and can't find a way to win that football game.
But would you agree that it's so early to jump the gun? And listen, I know Gus Malzahn's record, and so do you, but he's regarded as a good football coach. The president at Auburn just awarded him with a new 7-year contract, and fans are acting like, not all, but some, like this is the end of the world.
That's the difference between fans and fanatics. Fanatics are going to jump to conclusions. Fanatics are going to think that things are coming to an end and the ceiling's crashing down. You got 2 guys on this football team that decided to leave and go play somewhere else. And all of a sudden people think that there are personality issues and relationship problems with the coaching staff. Those guys are taking advantage of a new rule that's in place, and they want to go try to play somewhere else because they'll get more reps. It's like you said, way too early in the season to rule this Auburn football team out as being a contender in the SEC West. In my opinion, they have an elite defense, one that made a couple mistakes late in the game last week, but they had opportunities to close the door on LSU, and they just didn't do it. They're mistakes that can be learned from, that can be easily corrected. When you talk to Chip Lindsey, you talk to Kevin Steele, when you watch it on film, the omissions are not glaring. They're ones that were just easy mistakes that can be corrected moving forward. I think there's still a lot to be positive about with this Auburn football team. It's one of the reasons I'm excited to see tomorrow night. Do they come out and make a statement in this game against Arkansas, a team that's not as talented and just not as good?
So I presume you're doing the game, so I'm not going to get into too many predictions. But as you look at Auburn moving ahead, certainly, I mean, they have played two pretty respectable teams. What do you take away from this? Are they a top 10 team?
I don't think I'd have Auburn in my top 10 right now, Paul. I think there are still some issues along the offensive line. There are mistakes happening along the offensive line. And when I look at the film and I see that your H-back and one of your tailbacks are the 2 most physical players on the football team, That's a little bit disappointing to me. I think an offensive lineman should always be mentioned as one of the more physical players on your offense, if not the most physical player. That has to change for this football team, has to change for this offense. Defensively, I don't think there's a lot to look down upon. I thought LSU had a great game plan, and we can talk bad all we want about Auburn, but I'd like to give a little bit of credit to the LSU coaching staff. I thought Steve Ensminger, by keeping tight ends, running backs in, quick protection, slide protection, making life easy on Joe Burrow last week, which, by the way, statistically, he still didn't have a good game, but he stepped up and made big plays late. So I look at what this Auburn team has done on the field, and I don't think there's reason for panic. I don't think there's reason for people to immediately trash this football team and say that they can't be a contender. You mentioned it. Two good teams that they've played, one down to the wire at home, got a win in a neutral site game against Washington. So you begin to turn the page, and it starts tomorrow night. Can this team, with a lot of leadership and a lot of maturity, begin to bounce back and correct some of the mistakes that they've made? I believe that they can.
Cole Kubelik be on the call tomorrow night. Auburn hosting Arkansas on the SEC Network. Cole, thank you very much. Always enjoy it.
Thank you, Paul.
Arkansas at Auburn. Ty Story gets the start for the Hogs. How many games until Connor Nolan gets one?
2 more, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
How much does Tusk the Razorback weigh?
I think we've done this before, and I don't remember, unfortunately. I'm going to say he weighs 320 pounds.
It's around 475. Last question, we'll do it about this game. Do you prefer the saying War Eagle or Woo Pig? Which one do you like better?
I like War Eagle better.
You do?
Yeah, no offense to our Arkansas friends out there. But
okay.
What do you like better?
I kind of like Woo Pig.
Do you?
I just think they need to win something, so they won my vote.
I don't know what War Eagle means, but...
Welcome back. Auburn trying to bounce back from that tough loss against LSU. Now they host Arkansas, who's coming off that rough loss at home to North Texas. Tigers hoping a dose of the Hogs is just what they need. It's primetime Saturday on the SEC Network as we now take you inside the SEC, presented by Auto Owners Insurance. Cole Kubelik with Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn.
Coach Malzahn, coming off the loss of LSU last week, what do you want to see from your team early in this game against Arkansas?
Well, we need to get off to a good start. We got off to a tough start, and we were kind of playing uphill the whole game, last week. But, we've had a good week of practice. Our guys have put last week behind, and we need to come out and play good Auburn football.
Leadership is key when you're trying to bounce back from a game like that. Who have you specifically leaned on maybe this week in practice?
Yeah, really it's just our seniors and our leaders, and we've got strong leadership. And that was a tough loss, there's no doubt. But, we got here Sunday in our team meeting. They flipped the switch. They put it behind them and had a good positive week of practice.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
In prime time Saturday evening, we will be on the Plains at Auburn as the Tigers try to bounce back from the heartbreaker against LSU as they welcome in Arkansas. Jordan Rogers on that call joins us right now. I know you've talked to both sides here, but when in your conversations with the Auburn folks, how do they describe what in the world happened down the stretch last week?
Oh, I think it's pretty simple. This game was in hand. And if you talk to Kevin Steele, the defensive coordinator for Auburn, he felt good. Up until those last 2 drives, by his account, LSU had completed 14 out of 42 called passing plays, and they'd rushed for just over 100 yards. If you're a defensive coordinator in the SEC, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. In the fourth quarter, it came down to 2 plays, the big 71-yard touchdown and the 4th down conversion. Both those plays, through some situational education, Kevin Steele can say, these are fixable plays. Now, you would like it not to happen in such a grand stage at an opportunistic time for LSU, but these are things we can fix. If it weren't for 2 plays, and if either of those, Dari, go in the other direction for Auburn's favorite, they walk out of there with a W. So yes, it stings. Any close SEC loss does, but this is something that they can fix and hopefully move on from fast.
Okay, but what's the level of concern, particularly the last quarter or so of that game, with Auburn's offense?
Yeah, as I break down film, I think this offensive line needs to be more physical at the point of attack. I think they need to be able to run the football more effectively. Now, Cam Martin has been up and down. I think Whitlow is a great option from a physical standpoint. He fits the mold of an SEC pounding back at times. It's just how much responsibility can they give him when it goes up tempo in the protections. So I think they're still figuring some things out. And when I look at this passing game, I think Jarrett Stidham is the most talented thrower possibly in this conference. He spins it better than anybody. They are just putting him in difficult situations. He's having to complete high or low percentage throws on the outside, back shoulders. I think they can give him a little more latitude, maybe spread things out a little bit more. Go to that old school spread. Let Jarrett Stidham say, hey, there's 5 in the box. We're going to run it. Hey, there's 6 in the box. We're going to throw it. I think if they give him some more opportunities for quick, easy completions, this offense will get back on track.
Jordan, on the Arkansas side of this, what happened last week was ugly. You could almost forgive the Colorado State thing if you had to. They had a big lead late. What happened against North Texas? Doors blown off by the Mean Green. What's their state of mind right now?
Well, I can't say it's very positive. When you talk to these coaches, they know it's a serious rebuild. I think this really team lacks SEC speed across the board, and they've played 4 quarterbacks. Dari, no coach wants to play 4 quarterbacks, and if you're Chad Morris, when I talk to him, he doesn't even want to play 2. He wants to find one. He gave Cole Kelly the opportunity to take that job last week against North Texas, and he didn't do it. He turned the ball over. He made poor decisions. He went to a young guy. It's going to be Ty's story now, and Ty's going to have that same opportunity to take this job, go out there, protect the football, complete balls, get this offense in the right run situation. But what it comes down to, Dari, is they've thrown 8 interceptions that have turned into 30 points against inferior opponents. The quarterback position will be evaluated and analyzed by who can protect the ball and just keep positive plays going. If they can do that, they may not overpower anybody, but at least they're not going to be shooting themselves in the foot.
Arkansas at Auburn.
Yeah, this is not going to be pretty.
No.
I'm going with Auburn, 51, Arkansas, 10. It is just complete disarray in Fayetteville right now. Auburn's got to come back from that devastating loss last week. Very emotional loss to LSU. They're going to be able to run the football at will. And we know what Arkansas's offense has done. They flip-flop quarterbacks back and forth. The biggest thing I want to see, and you talked about it earlier, when does Connor Nolan get this chance to take over an offense that he played in a system similar to in high school?
Yeah, I had that fun little 13-yard run last week when he came in. That's our nightcap game. If it is as ugly as he says, we ask that you don't change the channel. And if you do, come on back at the end of the night for SEC Now, where Gene Chizik will be sitting here with the 2 of us.
Arkansas, oh no, what are you doing, big fella? You just let him run free. It's a little bit ridiculous, but they can bounce back. Jarrett Stidham also needs to bounce back after finishing very poorly against LSU last week. And this is an Auburn team that still has everything in front of them, and they need to have the right leadership to get it going.
Yeah, if it comes down to quarterback play, take Auburn. That's pretty obvious. The Hogs have some issues behind center, but will start Ty Story today at quarterback. Now let's see who will be the readiest tonight. Brought to you by Holiday Inn Express. Here's Tom Hart, Cole Kubelik, and Jordan Rogers on Jarrett Stidham.
All right, so you've seen it on Sundays. You see it in college football. But right now, nobody throws this route better than Jarrett Stidham. And I'm talking about the back shoulder fade. So I'm going to walk you through how it's not as easy as it looks sometimes. We got Hard Island here playing DB. He's the lockdown man. I got my big body possession receiver. Now, the way this works, the receiver has always got to run the go route. Always got to run the go. He can never anticipate that it's going to be the back shoulder. His job is to get this DB to turn his back and run. Now, here comes the difficulty. As the quarterback, I got to diagnose where this DB is. Obviously, if he's trailing, I'm throwing that ball over the top as the play is designed to be. If he is way over the top, then I'm going to put it back shoulder. And actually that back shoulder, I'm really going to almost stop his momentum and throw that way behind. Here's where it gets tricky. If that DB is right on the hip of the receiver, as a quarterback, you're taught, hey, if he's even, he's leaving. But when you're as good as Jarrett Stidham and you have Darius Slayton on the outside, there's a level of trust. And so what Jarrett Stidham is looking for is the back of that helmet. He completed some big ones against Washington, a couple big ones against LSU. The one time he made a mistake, he tried to throw the back shoulder while that corner's eyes were turned. If Jarrett Stidham sees the back of this DB's helmet, he's throwing a back shoulder fade all day, every day, and they are as good as it gets at doing that. So we're going to run one live right here and see if Hard Island can stop the back shoulder fade. Green 18. Shut down. Green 18. Hot. So there you have it. Anytime Jarrett Stidham sees the back of a DB's helmet and 81's on the outside, expect a big play, expect a back shoulder throw.
We'll see those guys tonight. Couple things. I think Cole Kubelik can't go in the next play because his helmet popped out.
Buckle it up.
Yeah, got to. Also, Hard Island lockdown.
That was some speed coming off line of scrimmage.
I think I could have picked that one off.
Yeah, you might have. Okay, so Auburn, obviously tough loss to LSU, but the one thing to think about is last year they lost to LSU and then went on to do the unthinkable, beating 2 #1 teams back-to-back, and then it was basically a play-in game for the college football playoff and the SEC championship. What do we think about Auburn at this point this year, Marcus?
The SEC West is a lot tougher than it was last year. That's first and foremost for me. Look, Auburn missed an opportunity with a win against LSU last week. And this season only gets tougher for every SEC West opponent. So initially, we all sat up here and said that Auburn was the better team. They were in a great situation to win this game and continue to make that move forward. Now Mississippi State looks how they look. Ole Miss is always tough. Even though we saw what Alabama did, Ole Miss is a tough game. A&M, Jimbo has thrown his hat in the pot as well. So as you look at the rest of this schedule, it's a lot more difficult than it was last year for them to get to that end of the season against Georgia and Alabama.
Auburn is a really talented team that has yet to find an identity. Who are you, Auburn? Are you a really good defense that's a ball control offense? Are you a pass-happy offense with a really talented quarterback? Are you still a triple option running game with a mobile quarterback? You don't know who you are. So to get to the SEC championship or to get to the playoffs, you have to find an identity. You have to pick one of them, and you got to get really, really good at it. But the good thing for Auburn is you can because they have the talent.
It was a rough week on our program because Auburn fans were unhappy. You understand that. 2 years in a row, Marcus, they lose a big lead to LSU. But slow down a second. Your president just gave Gus Malzahn a new 7-year, $49 million a year contract. People here, you like that? The point being, he's going to be there for a while. He didn't want to go to Arkansas, and you saw why last week. He's at Auburn. He can turn this thing around, although the schedule is more difficult. He doesn't have Georgia and Alabama this year. He's got Mississippi State on the road as well. The schedule is tough. He's got to get through that gauntlet without losing those 3 games.
Auburn has to get back to running the football. And that's who they are.
If they can. If they can.
Well, this is what has happened in the years past. The ability not to do it, they're not a very good football team.
True.
That's
but
really
this
what
is
it
a
boils
different
down to.
team. Your talent is with Jarrett Stidham's arm and these receivers. Your talent is not in the offensive line run blocking or in your running backs. So it's saying we are who we want to be in a running game, but that's not the strength of our team. The strength of our team is a throwing team, is spreading it out and letting Jarrett Stidham sling it around the field. So I get that's always been their identity and been their success, but that's not the strength of their team.
I just haven't seen the strength of the team be passing game either. They struggled against Washington. They struggled against LSU to pass the ball. They have to be balanced. I've had numerous conversations with Gus Malzahn, and he's talked about, first and foremost, we want to be able to run the ball, have tempo. That's his philosophy. I'm not saying that they are built to do it, but that's how he plans on his offense having success. And when they can't do it, they've shown the propensity to lack majorly in offensive production.
They knew that they were going to have challenges with a young O-line, a new center certainly, and one of the things that Malzahn does so well is those perimeter runs. But in the SEC, you got to be able to run it up the middle. Redemption game maybe for Auburn, or maybe just a game that they can't lose, but they take on Arkansas. Who wins it?
I'm sorry. This game's all Auburn. Arkansas is just not ready for this one.
Stop playing Auburn. I ain't got nothing to say.
Auburn,
Okay.
let's continue with our life.
Continuing on with our lives, which means
They know him well in the natural state, here in his 6th season on the Plains with a nice long contract under his belt going into this year. Now, Auburn won the toss. They've elected to defer, so Arkansas will receive. And a fair catch asked for that will bring the Razorbacks out.
For this game and the rest of the season is finding one quarterback. They've played 4. They need to find one.
A near pick, and then it's hauled in and turned upfield. Hayden on first down, dances through the hole, and he's able to rip off 8. Morris at the time was a head coach at Stephenville. 3rd and 2 to the slant. And that's good for an Arkansas first down to Jared Cornelius. Here comes pressure on Story. Steps up, avoids a rush, and on the run, complete for an Arkansas first down to Jackson.
It's just a great job. He's going to have pressure coming off the edge here by Big Cat Bryant. Once again, steps up, keeps his eyes downfield. That's about as pretty as you can do it right there to Deion Stewart.
Lindsey had the hold. Everything looked clean from there, but with pressure up front, he pushes it left. Auburn still pitching a shutout. Whitlow is the running back. They'll give it to him, and he gets taken down 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. This is what set up the Tigers in the short field near the end of the first quarter to 2-score lead. 3rd down 9. Extra rusher coming. Story will try to scramble for it. Tucks it, runs, and slides, and he's got a first down. 14 in a loud crowd. Blitz coming. Story crossing route, hits his man, and they pick up the first down as Jordan Jones is able to carry it.
Passes through for a career-high 387. So the favorites stay undefeated. Stidham pressured, and he'll go down.
Seen it a few times. You're going to see cornerback. This is a cat fire there. It's a late trigger, so Stidham probably didn't see it in early protection IDs, so he didn't account for it.
Stidham throws it out to Davis out of the backfield. And he gets stood up short of the line to gain. It will leave 4th and 1. Cameron Curl at the stop. Jarrett Stidham at quarterback with Boobie Whitlow behind him. Here's Whitlow. He gets hit behind the line and stopped. And Arkansas gets a turnover on downs. Dijon Harris was the first man there, and the Razorbacks feel like they just got to win.
I think they should start spreading things out. That box is pretty full to just run a read option or really just an inside zone give right into the teeth.
Bear defense. Center and both guards are covered. It's very difficult to get alignment up to the second level. You guys saw a linebacker run free and make a great individual play.
Arkansas came into this game heavy underdogs, but they came in thinking that they could win. And had to burn a timeout on the last possession, and now this one backs them up after the penalty. Cam Martin was able to pick up just one. Pressure. They pick up the first down. Some room all the way to midfield. Devwall Whaley picks up 15. But they have a 17-0 lead despite the fact that they were heavy favorites. Arkansas hanging with them. Let's get you to the studio with 6 penalties in the half. Jarrett Stidham out of the shotgun. They set up a screen to Cam Martin. That's immediately blown up. It's a loss of 3.
They haven't found a way to utilize that, I think, to the best of their ability to complement the run.
Big hole, Rakeem Boyd, and he bends it to the outside. Boyd takes it into Auburn territory, and the Razorbacks are set up after a 45-yard run.
This is just a power run. Arkansas does a good job of getting a body on a body, leaving. He's turned the ball over too much.
Didn't look too laid back on that one. Hand off after the misdirection, and a punishing hit at the tail end, laid by Rakeem Boyd on a 10-yard gain. 7 in the box. They bring 6. Story pressured. Gets away from it. Story finally taken down after a gain of 3. Kentucky leads Mississippi State by a touchdown. Connor Lippert just inside the upright, and he knocks it through from 29. The answer for Auburn after Arkansas scored its first points of the night and his first kickoff return for a score. It's a first for Auburn since Corey Grant did it at Tennessee in 2013, and it's a 3-touchdown lead here on the Plains for the home team. Play clock at 1. Game's up front, pressure. Story escapes. Will try to run for it. And he dives for the marker. Jarrett Stidham over the last couple of days. And he knows that he didn't have a great game against LSU. Some throws, obviously, that he would want back. What's going to be the biggest game on this particular Saturday? Georgia, Kentucky, or LSU, Alabama? Get you thinking about that one. Let's check in with Dari.
Chip Lindsey and Gus Malzahn about just how much this passing game can continue to grow.
Stidham gets taken down. Big-time sack by Randy Ramsey. Cole, what are you seeing from the O-line?
Well, just a twist on that last play. Randy Ramsey's had a lot of success getting upfield. A little bit lighter, sleeker defensive end, outside linebacker. Well, he utilized some of those wins to the outside.
They've gone final in Lexington. Kentucky knocked off Mississippi State. Story finds Boyd. And Boyd got a block on the edge, and he springs free down the sideline. Finally taken down out of bounds into Auburn territory by Montavious Atkinson.
Home, you throw a screen. Good job by Story. See how he used his eyes downfield? Didn't turn to the screen too early. Those little subtleties are what make a screen go from 5 yards to big gains like that.
They can play, but they're beat up along that D-line. They've moved Adrian Middleton down inside, moved a couple other guys. That's the impressive part, is Matt House getting elite play from the first level.
As the third quarter comes near an end in Baton Rouge. They go with a direct snap here.
I think an opportunity for Boobie Whitlow to run the football is 28. Number 28, Boobie Whitlow, with his second rushing touchdown of the night. On 3rd and 14, Stidham gets dropped. It's Agim who's in on it. Everything works out for Auburn here. Some are happy, some despondent.
All right, Arkansas. Ooh, that's a good close-up there. Arkansas and Auburn. Arkansas is having a rough go. We saw him just hammered by North Texas last week. Gus Malzahn wearing a hat. Wait, a hat? That was last week. Saturday, back to the visor. Do we like that?
Gotta go visor.
Yeah, the hat was clearly bad luck.
I literally had a guy tell me last week, please tell Gus to put the visor back on.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you tell him to put the visor
I
back
did
on?
not.
You did not?
He did it anyway.
Ryan Davis, early in the first, receiving a punt. Davis?
This was a theme for Auburn today. The special teams were big in terms of helping an offense that really struggled for the majority of the night.
And then Whitlow.
Well, you'd like to see more of this. You'd like to see them run the ball consistently. We didn't see that tonight.
No.
They struggled
Less
in the
than
run
100
game.
yards rushing for Auburn tonight.
Yeah, and they struggled in the run game, and again, they're going to have to find a run game.
Yeah. How about Stidham's run game? That's not what you want to live on, though.
No, you know, and again, he doesn't pose a great threat in the run game to take some pressure off the tailbacks, but he's definitely good down inside the red zone.
Yeah, give him some credit there.
It's a tough run now.
Avoids the rush and then gets to the outside, lowers his shoulder a little bit, pulls it in for the touchdown.
And to your point, though, Auburn 91 yards rushing it, not like them at all. Third quarter now. Igbenogany.
You've had some tough
First name
pronunciations
Noah.
tonight.
Why do they do this to me?
Big return, though. Arkansas just got a field goal to get on the board, and Auburn immediately grabs the momentum back to their side.
34-3. There was not much to